Hello, it's day 19 of the Liberator project, and well, I thought I'd share a few of my personal details today and a bit about my medical history, because I think some people are curious about why I've got scarring and why I look the way I do. So it's been quite a difficult day working on the van. It's been intermittently hot and stuffy, and then there's been, flash floods and thunder and lightning. It's been like that all day, and I have done a bit on the van, but it's very difficult to work. I managed to get a couple of coats of spray done, but those are sat in the back of the van. But I couldn't finish off anything because if it rains on the top coat, then it ruins everything. So unfortunately, I haven't finished things. I have I have done a few bits on the dashboard, and if you want to see the dashboard in much more detail, that's on the Facebook page, so that's a good excuse to go down there and have a look what's actually happened. I've also fitted the door panel and things, but I hope tomorrow, if it's a nice day, I can get the cockpit finished, in which case I'll show you all of it rather than just dribs and drabs. It's pretty close to being finished now. I'm pleased how it's come up, but this is the Liberator project is not just about a camper. It's about selling up and going circumnavigating, actually sailing the world. So the camper is just one step on that ladder to leave the country. But okay, as always, I'd like to thank Sylvia for the well, not tea today, it was actually Ash's soup, and that was lovely. It really pepped me up. It was a bit of a gloomy, rainy day, and a bowl of homemade chicken soup, or a cup of it, was very nice. I appreciate that. It's pepped me up a bit. Okay, so that's the end of the van. Now I'm going to talk about some personal details, which I can do now. Obviously I got very upset about that for quite a few years because the damage it caused to me and what was happening to me, but I'm okay now. I can share it, and things are not as bad as they were. So, as someone said, I haven't actually introduced myself. My name's Dren, which is short for Darren. As you can hear, I come from Essex, and I'm currently living in Croxley Green near Watford, and I never wanted to live here, and I've been here for nigh on 20 years. So that's part of the history that's a bit strange about me, that I got stuck here. I got a job. My background is image processing and design. I got a job for a television company doing the digital processing. So at the end of a television program, they crunch up the video and they move the credits around and do split screen and video effects like that. Now, I really enjoyed that. It was a job I thought was fantastic. It was a lot of very low-level mathematics and processing and electronics. It was a bit of everything. Now, I had that job in 2000, and I was living in Southend, so that meant every day I was doing about 3 hours driving, and that just takes up all your time. You haven't got time for anything else. You just end up working and sleeping and commuting. So I made a decision to move to Watford, move to the area. I had a chat with the director of the company and said, look, I'll be moving just for the job. How are things? He assured me everything was fine. I was a vital part of the company, and he even talked about setting another company for me to manage, which was just done for custom projects and special R&D work, which would have been fantastic. So I bought a house, saved up and bought a house here, and 5 months after I bought and moved, the company laid a lot of people off and I lost my job. That dumped me into negative equity, and it's that was quite hard to recover from. But I've got a lot of design skills, so I went contracting, and to get out of the there's a period of time before I could find another job or another contract. To get out of that financial hole, I was working my arse off. I mean, I was doing 60 plus hours a week easily. I was working in Manchester, Birmingham, Cheltenham, Reading. I was working all over the place and living in hotels or dashing around. And basically I burnt myself out. I did far too much work, I did far too many hours, and I could feel myself getting ill, but I couldn't afford to take a holiday. And the other thing was that I'd leave here early in the morning, or I'd even stay in hotels. I'd get to work as early as I could, as soon as they took me. I'd do as many hours as I could because I was paid by the hour, and then I'd leave work, at late, and I never saw the sunlight. I was going to work when it was dark. I was coming home when it was dark, and I have a bit of a problem. I have eczema and asthma, and I don't seem to process vitamin D well. So although I was taking vitamin D supplements, I just wasn't getting any sunlight. So I had like my fingers started to bend and my legs started to bend. It's almost like onset of rickets from that. And if you remember, 2004 was a ridiculously bad year. In the summer, it rained every single weekend. And because I was trying to get my kit car back on the road, I couldn't work on it. It absolutely was just drizzling or rain. There wasn't a single day in the summer where I could work or even go out in the sunlight. So I became really ill, and I think that's what tipped me over the edge. My immune system went my immune system just went off on a rampage basically, and started to attack things in my own body, attack my internal organs, my joints. I got joint pain, and it was it was horrible. I ended up going to hospital so many times, ended up in A&E, and I just couldn't function. I was swollen up, my face was purple, I was dripping lymphatic fluid, I could barely move because all my joints were so sore, and I could barely see because my eyes were swollen up, and I had trouble breathing. I was having a fantastically powerful immune response, even though I am extraordinarily careful of being exposed to antigens and what I eat. I mean, really careful on what I eat. So that cycle kept going on. I'd go to hospital, end up in A&E. They'd give me a massive injection of steroids, and then a few days later I'd recover and I'd be fine. So I'd come out, I'd start work, I'd try and do what I could. Hopefully my boss was patient and I could go back to work. And then within sort of 5 weeks, I'd be back in A&E. That went on a number of times. And because of that, the immune response, the doctors put me on steroids. They put me on prednisolone, which is a very nasty drug, and it's an oral steroid. The safe dose is about 7.5 milligrams, and I was taking 40 milligrams. And even at 40 milligrams, I was still allergic. I wasn't feeling well. I was just coping. I was just hanging on. So occasionally I'd go up to 60 milligrams for a few days till I felt better, and I'd try and drop it down. But typically I was on 40 milligrams, which, if you know anything about steroids, that is not sustainable. So I used to run half marathons, and I was doing the karate, and I was reasonably fit for my age. And you take steroids for a while, your weight absolutely blossomed. So I'd been 13 stone for ever since I was a teenager. I'd hover about 13 stone, which is a little bit over my weight, but quite a big guy. I think it suits me, that sort of weight. Wasn't a problem. And within a few months of taking the steroids, the weight blossomed. I basically started to swell up like a balloon. You get a phenomena with taking steroids where they call it moon face. So your face almost becomes spherical. It swells up. The jowls swell up. You look like a hamster. You're so swollen. And also I put weight on. I went to 156.2 kilograms. I don't know what that is in imperial measurements, but that's a lot. That's basically doubling my body weight. So that was very bad. My blood pressure, which had always been like 120 over 80 with a low resting pulse because I do a lot of exercise, that peaked about 150 something over 100. So my blood pressure was going up. Then I was becoming borderline diabetic, and things were on a very bad way. I didn't know what else to do. So they tried they tried a lot. I went to see a dermatologist. Now, some dermatologists, my later ones, have been absolutely brilliant. I mean, I owe my life to them. But there's a lot of really poor dermatologists in the world. So seriously, I don't want to name names, but well, there's one particular doctor which I'm really tempted to name. She was absolutely useless. Now, bear in mind, I've been on this massive dose of steroids. I've been in and out of A&E 20 times, and I've been in and out of hospital a lot when I got really bad. They kept me in when I had too much allergic reactions. Her advice was to use more moisturizer. Now, that just makes me, you know, I'm not inherently a violent person, but I mean, if any doctor needed punch in the face, it was them. So they tried me on a completely pointless regime of going for antihistamines. So I tried 16 different types of antihistamines over the year. Bear in mind, this whole process went on for like 12 years. I tried 16 different types of antihistamine, every one going. They had absolutely no effect. And it was only in later years they did some blood tests on me and found out that my basophiles, the mast cells that trigger allergic reactions, weren't active. So in other words, if they'd done that test earlier, they'd have realised that an antihistamine would do nothing, because that they block your trigger response, whereas my trigger wasn't the problem. To give you an example of how bad it was, my blood level with IgE, a typical person's about 180, 190. When they did my blood test, they had to dilute the test down because it saturated all the results. Eventually, they worked out my IgE level was about 23,800. So that was basically my immune system absolutely on flat on. So that was my problem. Now, to deal with that, I had all sorts of treatments. I had sort of ultraviolet PUVA treatment, which didn't really help. And I tried some really nasty drugs. I tried some azathioprine, which you know about it is a horrible drug. Methotrexate, which, I mean, these drugs have got terrible side effects. I mean, you feel, you know, I know I'm going to get on a boat, but it was like I was seasick all the time. It was absolutely dreadful, these drugs, and also the chronic pain in my joints. You know, I'd be in agony some nights. I couldn't sleep because of the pain in my joints taking these drugs. So I tried other things. I had a variety of treatments. I think I had like 4 things of treatment. They were talking about bone marrow transplants at one point. And I had IVIG, where you go into hospital for a week and they pump this stuff into your veins. And that was, my body reacted very badly to that. So again, I was almost like being seasick constantly for about a week and a bit. And things were really bad. I think the longest I spent in hospital was like 2.5 months continuous, but I had more problems. Now, doctors told me if I carried on with that level of steroids, you know, my spine would disintegrate and I'd be a cripple, and some pretty horrific news they came up with. But again, it's like, well, I'm already scared. You know, there's no point telling me that unless you've got an alternative. And I just couldn't survive without taking the steroids. If I didn't take them, I'd be in A&E, unable to move. So knowing the damage they were causing, I had to take them. And like I say, I took them on and off for, it was about 12 years in total. Now, during that time, say I peaked at 156 kilograms, my face became spherical. And the other thing was, like, you know, being immune repressed, which is what some of the drugs they did, and being in hospital, obviously I got an infection in my face, and that ate away part of my face, which, you know, at the time seemed one of the least of the problems, but that's quite an unfortunate scar. So I blossomed up in weight. I'm quite luckily the bacteria, they stopped it, but it did leave quite a nasty bit of scarring there. You know, and the other thing is, with taking steroids, they mess up all your hormonal system. So they messed up my thyroid, they messed up other things. And one of the side effects is I grew breasts. Now, that is actual, you know, mammary tissue. And I was very embarrassed about that for a long time. Still, I'm embarrassed about it because people think I'm just fat, but that's part of what the hormones do to you, I'm afraid. So you know, what could I do? I didn't get the choice I didn't get the choice in taking the medicine. I just had to, because otherwise I couldn't survive. So that's been quite horrible. Now, about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, one of the really good dermatologists, I'm not mentioning any names, but he was amazing. He put me through some experimental drugs that had just come out, part of the biologics, and they're a monoclonal antibody. And I took those, and the results have been absolutely amazing. I feel, you know, within a very short period of time, I felt my old self. I felt fine. In less than a year, I'd weaned myself off the steroids, which, you know, if you know about steroids, it takes a long time to wean yourself off of so much. I haven't taken steroids now for over 2 years, and I've lost 40 kilograms. I'm, you know, getting fitness. I can breathe properly. I'm trying to get back to my old self. But, you know, there was a fair bit of damage due to 12 years of being addicted to steroids, or well, addicted. Yeah, I suppose I had to take them. I didn't get the choice. So I am trying to, you know, regain my old self. Some things are never coming back. I'm never going to lose you know, the scarring, but at least that could be tightened, I suppose. With the breast tissue, the doctors have told me that's cosmetic and they won't do it on the NHS. Now that's ludicrous considering it's a medical condition, and it annoys me so much when I hear that teenagers are given sex change operations. If someone wanted to become a woman, they would give them breasts, or someone had breasts and wanted to become a man, they'd take them off. But someone like myself who's damaged by so many years of steroids, they say it's cosmetic and the operation can't be done. So at some point that's going to have to be done privately, but you know, I've still got some weight to lose, even though I've lost so much, and I've still got to, you know, I've still got other things to do in my life before I can do that. Once, you know, the flat's sold, once I'm independent, I will look at that. I will look at this, but it is, you know, this is cosmetic, even though it upsets me a great deal. But my health's back, and I've got to be very grateful for that. I mean, they were talking about how many years I would live at one point. They were saying I had to make decisions about how long I would live against quality of life. So the fact I've got actually through that and now I'm perfectly healthy is a miracle, and that's due to these particular drugs. Dupilumab it is. It's an antibody. And let's check what else I've got to say. That's so that's my health problems. Of course, being in and out of hospital and not being able to work for months at a time did completely screw up my finances and drop me in such a pit you would not believe. But so I've been healthy for 2 years, and when I'm contracting, you know, I can actually earn pretty good money because I go in as a consultant, and I have actually managed to pay off quite a lot of my debts. Brought my mortgage up to date. You know, I've got on grips of things until this new situation started, which is, you know, now I'm not allowed to work for the last since March. That's dropped me right back in the situation. So you know, it's always something coming along to cause problems. Now I have to stay healthy at the moment. Now I'm hoping that once I start getting out into the vitamin, you know, getting out into the sunlight, living a more outdoors life, and having a less stress, and you know, just being out in the weather and getting sunlight, I hope my body will start making vitamin D, and I won't be you know, I won't be as ill, and I hope I can wean myself off these. This is what I do every fortnight. If you're squeamish, don't watch. But now I usually put this in my chest and my abdomen, but I'm going to do it in my arm today, so I hope it doesn't hurt a lot more. It's not easy to do this one-handed, but yes, it does hurt a lot more on your arm than it does in your belly. It doesn't need to go into a vein, it just needs to go somewhere, anywhere into your muscle. So here we go. I hate doing this. You know, I really hated injections, but after doing this for 2 years, you just don't care anymore. You know, you don't care if people see it, you do this, and you don't care about sharing your health problems, which is what I've done today. There we are. So that's me good for the next 2 weeks, and or at least a week. Actually, they only last a week, those injections, but that's me sorted out. So that's what I have to do now. You know, things are getting better. In the last 2 years I've lost a lot of weight, and I'm starting to go to the gym, and I was going to the gym like 3 times a week before the lockdown happened, because I like the gym rather than, I hate running on the street. But you know, we all got locked down and had problems, so just got to deal with that. Right, I think that's me, covered all my health issues, and yeah, I think that's covered all my health issues there. You know a lot more about me, a lot more personal information than I planned to share, but I have done. I will do the camper tomorrow. If you want to have a look, go to the Facebook page, and remember, I've got this as well to play you. Oh, I could show you this. You can see my dreadful laptop. This is my Estonian laptop that gives me so much grief. It's not a bad laptop, but it has a recovery boot or something is set up in the operating system. So if it ever something comes out that it doesn't expect, it restores itself to its default settings, which happen to be Estonian. So this is my jingle. So if you can do a copy of that for me, I'll be really grateful. Either email it to the email below or put it on the Facebook page. And when I actually get you know, a title screen, I will use all these jingles, and I'll be really grateful to have a selection to pick every day. Anyway, I hope you found it interesting, and you know, I've sharing personal details. So this is about changing the lifestyle, not just about a camper. So right, I think I've shared enough with you for now. Hopefully tomorrow you'll join me and I can show you the cockpit finished. Thanks very much. Goodbye. Oh, it doesn't work. My selfie stick's gone to sleep because I've talked for so long. Okay, bye.